we'll see how that works. Okay, so that's where that's how, and from that then the database moved on to an e-commerce platform. Then we looked at off-the-shelf solutions like many of you might have in your journey when you were looking for an online booking system. Looked at what already is out there that exists. We found for our business, it was all, at the time, it was all very much geared to accommodation, but there was not much for land product and for tour operators. So we took the journey of then customising an online booking system that we could use internally, but could also put on our website. So, because that's the other thing, isn't it? When it comes to you're doing a manual process, someone comes into your website and makes a booking. If the two aren't talking to each other, then again you have yourself an awkward situation where you have to make the call and get creative about how you're going to cancel someone and what will happen. And that's a lot of what we'll cover today. So I've put in here, just by way of introduction, lately I've always, and some of you that were in my content, hello, welcome, in the content marketing workshop that we did a few weeks back. A lot of everything that we're doing by online booking system or any type of content and digital assets that we're putting onto our websites and that we're creating all reflects on your ability to show up and organically rank on your search engines. So if that's something that you haven't done in a while as well, just as a little prompter, have you Googled your business lately and seen how you fare up on the search engine for your keywords? And are we familiar with what, are we looking at our keywords and knowing, what are the top 10 keywords that visitors and audiences are entering into the search engines, and where am I faring up? So whether it's Geelong accommodation, whether it's Geelong things to do, whether Geelong food, wherever it is, whatever it is that your business is in. Did you want to see? There's a couple of seats down here. No, that's all right. That's all right. It's very intimate today, isn't it? Very cosy. So stay connected. This is where you can reach me. If there's you've mentioned you had to duck off earlier. If you wanted to reach out, please feel free. So I want to get to know a little bit about you guys. This is also a great opportunity for you to network and get to know who's in the room. So if we could just go around and introduce yourself and your business and just give me a 30-second what you'd most like to get out of today. So where possible, I can really make sure everybody gets the most value. Who wants to start? Little introduction, please. Awesome.
Kate and I are from the Blues Train, so we have recently gone to our own online booking system. We had been using one of the other bigger ones out there, but we've taken it on board. So we've had it in-house for, we started in-house August, September last year.
Excellent.
And then solely us from January. So I guess it's just more tips, more what are we doing,
right.
make it better. Yeah.
Now tell me, Kate, was it?
Kate. That's Kate, I'm Adrian.
Adrian. Tell me, what was it that made you want to do the switch over from having off the shelf? Because I know a lot of people might look at off the shelf. What was it that was a challenge or made that decision?
We've been with one of the really big ticket outlets for a long time, and there's a lot of information that you don't get.
Yes.
A lot of information about our customers that come everywhere, come to the train, have been for years. We don't have all their information.
Right.
So
that's
there's
important.
Stuff about that, and just other things on the customer service element.
Yes.
Complaints that were coming back to us that weren't getting handled from that end. So it's sort of been a lot better in-house and a heaps better picture of who it is that's
great. Well, that served everyone, Adrian, because I think that is an important question. Now I've got some. I will share with you questions to ask of your provider when you're looking around. That is something, will I own my database? Or what information will I receive? Because just like, come through, there's a spare seat here, welcome. Because just like I say, if any of you have been to my social media trainings, just like Facebooks and Instagrams, my God, we're like standing room here. No, I've got a spare chair here. Just like Facebook, did you, sorry, I might have to, no, that's okay. Max, excuse me while
I'll
we
go and get,
just...
I'll get Lakshmi.
Oh, thank you so much. I do?
One for me too, Despina, please.
Yes. Yes, sorry. So just like the social networks that I like to call them, they are rented. It's rented space. We don't own the relationship there. We don't own that asset. They can change the game on us however they please. It's a little bit the same here, and we want to make sure we understand clearly what is it that is going to be shared and what's not. So that's a really important one. Thank you. No, that's okay. Excellent. I don't want this to be in your way. This is not going to be a very good recording, is it?
Up for you. Sorry.
Okay.
In front of me. That's fine.
No, that's all right. That's okay. We're good. And one last spare little workbook. Okay, so we'll just go quickly around, keep going around the room. So we've got Blue Train.
Ashley and Carly from Sea Road Ferries. We already have an online booking system, but Carly and I just kind of walked into it and it was like that, so it'd be a good idea to see, why it's beneficial rather than doing it, by customer face to face and things like that. And, the same again, restoring the data makes it, a bit more personal with the customer next time and things like that. So I guess it's just clarifying and explaining that.
Yes, because it's not just a booking system, it's a customer relationship management system. That what conversation I've just had with my customer, the next time they call, particularly for a business of your size, you can make a little note, chat it, one is inquiring about a birthday, then the next time she calls an Ashley, oh yes, that's fine, you can chat to me, you were inquiring about your birthday booking. So how are we capturing, whether you have an online booking system or not, are we making those little notes to selves, even if you're flying solo like I do, making notes of things like that to prompt you. It's good customer service, isn't it? Awesome. Hey, Helen.
I'm Helen from Bellarine Business Advisors, so I'm an accountant.
Fantastic.
And a board member of tourism.
Excellent.
I'm mainly okay because my business is a little bit different, is that I'm trying to automate most of my clients so that they're automating and producing reports really efficiently.
Fantastic.
So this might be something that would help them.
Maybe.
It's squishy.
Yeah.
Can you just unlock that thing behind you and I'll go around and set it up?
Excellent. Just a little breathing room.
Yeah,
Excellent.
just
So to help
my clients.
help them. That's a wonderful thing you've done. Awesome, Helen. Hi, welcome.
Hi, sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's the wrong spot.
No, that's
I
okay.
didn't book myself in. My business partner booked me in, so I don't even know what I've come to.
Okay, so this is an online booking systems training.
Yes, I just figured that out. I'm like, why did you book me to this when I do online booking?
You
Anyway,
don't do?
No.
Or you do?
No, we don't. Boom Gallery, we don't have, we have events that people come to, but we don't require booking.
Okay. So how do your customers purchase their tickets?
So great. It's not ticketing.
It's not ticketed?
No, they're open events.
They're open?
Everyone's welcome.
Okay. Public free?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So is that what this whole thing's about? I feel
Well,
so
this is
embarrassed.
about,
I'm
that's
looking at the
sorry,
email.
Kate, but I think it's still beneficial for you, because a question I would ask you is how are you capturing all of those people that are coming to your event? How are you capturing their
Yeah.
information?
Well, we're not really, so.
So that's where will be
Okay.
relevant to you, because capturing a name and an email, even if for a free, there's not an exchange in money, there's an exchange in a relationship. For the next event that comes through,
Yeah.
all those next opportunity, how are we going to market to them?
Yeah.
There's a system required.
Mhm.
And what will that be? So although we're talking a lot about bookings and transactional, there are other systems like a MailChimp or Constant
Yeah.
Contact or something like that that we can say, well, how will we capture them for future?
Hi, I'm Mindy from Bellarine Bayside, and I'm just moved here from Adelaide. I did marketing and communications over there in the arts sector, so I guess I'm here to just learn what Geelong's doing, what Victoria's doing,
Fantastic.
and how I'm going to negotiate our business in the right direction and what's right for this area, basically.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'm Emma from the Q Train, and just after a bit of information on what's new in the area and a bit more information on how they actually integrate together.
Yes.
So, for example, we've got a package with Sea Road.
Yes.
It'd be great if the customer could just
of what we're talking about. Now, if you'd like to spread out, please feel free. Thanks, Lakshmi. Collaborating is a fantastic way to use online systems and your online assets to be able to grow your audiences and your business. Excellent.
I'm Susan, and we've just recently taken over the Bellarine and we do already have an online system, but it's really just to come and find out. Yeah,
Great.
Just come and see.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Excellent. Welcome, Susan. Hello.
Hi, I'm Helen. This is Katie from Sabina and Myers. It's a self-contained little house in High Street. Basically here we've got an online booking system, and we're finding that people are still coming through other ATOs rather than direct.
Yeah.
So I would like to sort of try and increase that connection, direct bookings rather than the other.
Excellent. So other ATOs or OTAs, online
OTAs.
travel agents. So when we love our acronyms in tourism. So that is a fantastic point you raised too. That online booking system, as much as it's great to have these channel managers and infiltrate to have our product and experiences picked up by all these massive conglomerates that are now pretty much all owned by Expedia, is how can we grow that direct relationship and direct booking as a means, as a business model, as a strategy to grow our, to not part with as much commissions, because that's something that we definitely, anytime we are booked or affiliated with a third party, then that relationship involves an exchange of a commission structure. So excellent. Normally 15 and up to 30. Okay, so we have to be aware that when we're entering these relationships of what we are prepared to part with, and I'll share a little bit more about that. So domestically, if we're operating in a domestic market, yes, what once used to be kind of standard 10% commission is now definitely up to 15 and even 20% on the likes of something like Red Balloon Days. Has anyone featured and works with Red Balloon Days? So that is more of a gift experience, a gift online travel agent per se.
Hi, I'm Belinda from Lara Sporting Club. I'm new in my role, and we have obviously sporting facilities, but we've also got a bistro and venue for functions and different things like that. So part of my role is to sort of promote and grow that, sort of been in a bit of a lull for the last couple of years. So we just want to, so we don't have online booking, so that's why I'm here to sort of learn about it and see if that's something that might be able to incorporate into our
Wonderful.
going forward.
And I'll tell everyone straight off the bat, even if you don't have those systems in place, who doesn't have a Facebook page? But using your other platforms, public platforms, they have the same functionality that you would have in, on a website booking. So in the interim, there's other areas like having a book now button on your Facebook page, creating events on your Facebook page, Eventbrite, an excellent ticketing. I do that myself. I don't have you, and I run my own events. I don't have an e-commerce functionality on my website. I use other external platforms like an Eventbrite, and will use that to facilitate the payment in exchange for a commission, and then add that on my Book Now button on my website and on the Facebook page. So using other assets is what we also want to consider today. So thank you for bringing that up.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm from a small antiques and collectible shop called Bellarine Collections.
Great.
In the Riverend of Bellarine Street. We obviously have no online booking system because it's not what we do.
Yeah.
But I'm just here to learn about like online bookings.
Fantastic.
Google and how we're ranking and stuff like that.
Yeah, great. Well, again, I mean, Facebook has a shop button now, like there's a shop functionality. So something like that, just even as a test, I will just test something like that to be able to put your, you can make a beautiful listing and see, use some functionality like that to see if that would drive some sales and walk-ins. Great. Hello.
Hi, I'm Marie Claire. I'm also from the Q Train. I mainly run the booking system that we've got, so I'm interested in doing a health check.
Yeah, great. Love it. Awesome.
try booking since day dot. And
Yes.
we seem to get all the information we need.
Yes.
But maybe we don't.
Okay, great.
It's cheap, it's effective, it's never played up for us.
Yes.
So, but I'm here just to see what the options are.
Great. Excellent. Hello.
I'm Stuart from Go Rome Tours.
Yeah.
I don't have any online booking. I'm just starting from scratch
Yeah.
with an online presence, so I'm trying to learn as much as possible.
Fantastic. You're welcome. Yeah.
I'm Alex. I'm from Adventure Park. I'm the marketing manager there. We've got an online ticketing system, and I'm dabbling with external providers. I'm like trying to set something up with like TripAdvisor at the moment, and trying to sort of do some ticketing combos and things like that. So I'm just here to sort of see if there's anything that I can really take away from that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, let's go. What we've got, so understanding online booking systems and distribution. So that's another word that we want to really take into account. Sorry, we missed one. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right.
I'm sorry. I just looked at you and yes, sorry.
I'm Pam Bishop. I've got about Beta at Bates Street. It's
Yeah.
luxury B&B. I do have a little hotelling system, so
Beautiful.
Expedia booking can come in there. I've had an SEO working so that I can increase my direct bookings on my website.
Yes.
Booking. So that's been good.
That's been good.
But I'm not very good on social media, and I've got
Yeah.
someone that even uploads photos for me on my Facebook. But I'm probably looking for someone to mentor or work with me on the bigger social.
So a bit of a strategy to put a strategy together for
Do
you.
do that?
That is yes. So that's something that interesting that's come to. You wanted to grow your direct booking, so you looked at your SEO, your search engine optimization.
I've got somebody doing that.
You've got that doing that.
I'm
Okay.
paying that just for a year to say it's $500 a month. Some people say that's good. I find it quite a bit. But,
Yes.
you know, for what they do, but at least I'm getting my
You found
presence
it's
at home.
working?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So there's it, like all this stuff that we talk about, content and keywords, and always making your websites and your social media, and you're always being relevant and timely, and feeding that with new and also curated content all helps towards
We
your
actually,
SEO.
interestingly enough, have got a beautiful border collie, and he's got his own like an international fan club. People just love him.
Yeah.
And we got approached by Eat Stay Play, and they wanted to feature our property, and they actually walks up to the door and the dog's just there. She's Tom, doesn't jump, doesn't bark.
Yeah.
And it's just become a feature that people love.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's great. It's a point of difference.
Yes.
So if anything, that's some that he's grown his own influence.
He greets people, he sneaks into photos with them, and
That's cute. There you go. And a social media superstar. Discovering how to select channels, partners, and technology. So partnering is definitely, you might not have a booking system. Now, certainly in my early days with the hot air balloon business, we didn't have that capability, but certainly partnering with someone that does, that's a great way to create your packages and make those available, and being able to choose those partners, and how to improve our online presence. So the way I've pretty much done it in 3 modules: online booking systems, working with distributors, and driving direct sales. So we'll see what the difference, when someone heard the term channel managers. So for example, being able to have multiple businesses come in and pick out your products. So let's look at online bookings explained. I always like to, this is an opportunity that we don't have to start always communicating through someone else's channels, and choosing our own. So when we look at how the booking process, how you process bookings, this is, at the start when we're talking about a check-in and looking at doing a bit of an audit, asking ourselves, do I have an online booking system, or do I have an ability to capture customer data and information, whether you have a ticket, whether there's an opportunity, because even for your antique shop, is there an opportunity, are we collecting information from everyone that's coming through the doors, or anyone that transacts with us? Are we capturing that? Because they're all, the know, like, and trust factor, getting them to know and like and trust us. If they've already purchased for us, when something new and beautiful comes through, they would be a good first point of contact to let them know. create those communications channels. Do you have live availability available? So live availability. Now a lot of you with accommodation and tour operators, being able to in real time, if I come to your website, can I pick and choose my dates and availability whenever I please as a consumer and as a visitor to your site? If not online, what's your process, or are we thinking about that? So if we don't have online, that doesn't matter for now. It's okay. But what's the process? More importantly, to capture that data and be able to then continue that relationship. A relationship management system is always a good way to look at that. So how do we benefit as tourism businesses and visitor businesses and hospitality businesses? So online booking functionality removes the barriers to conversion for your customers. So removing those barriers to be able to book then and there. How many of you have gone to make an impulsive purchase, but when the functionality is not there, you go, I'll come back to it later, and never gone back? So we have to think like we're leaving opportunities on the table when our customers, when we're not there for them to be able to conveniently make those transactions themselves. Collect payment up front with secure and a PayPal system. So having, like I mentioned earlier, I don't have that myself. I'm not quite ready for that full e-commerce system, but finding a trusted third-party source gives me peace of mind, but it also gives my customers peace of mind that they can make that transaction. I think that one of the most important, above social media, above online booking, our systems, is that not everybody is going to purchase from us the very first time they've landed on your website, on your Facebook page, on your Instagram. They're not ready to make that transaction, but certainly providing opportunities and touch points to capture customer emails and customer addresses to be able to then start that relationship of continuing the communication and conversation is a really important one. Who here is sending out a regular email newsletter per se? Fantastic. So this is what we're doing. So we want to put that as a system or as a process to how we're continuing to build that outside of just our customers, not just people that bought from us, but people who have inquired, people who have not physically acquired but have landed on your website. And a good way to do that is a lot of us have subscribed to our e-newsletter, to our email for news and events. But certainly a nice way is also to create something on your website that they can download or retrieve for free. So something that was the most successful with a client, a Segway operator out in Yarra Valley, we went and created our own visitor guide. So we're a tour operator. We said top 10 things to see, do and eat in the Yarra Valley. We used Canva, C-A-N-V-A. We created our own little guide, and we put that on the website to say, download your free guide of the Yarra Valley. And that was a way to just have the website working for us to keep receiving some emails. Reports, definitely for your planning, forecasting, and definitely your cash flow management. And ability to display prices, availability, packages, and then filter them out through your different distribution channels. So something that I did often with the balloon business was we only did ballooning. We had one flight over the Yarra Valley, we had one flight over Melbourne. But to expand on our product and our experiences, we were never going to have accommodation. And we were never going to build a restaurant to have the champagne breakfast after the flight. The only way that we could build on those experiences was through packages and partnerships. So suddenly now our just our singular 1 hour balloon flight becomes a 1 hour balloon flight with a champagne breakfast. And then our single 1 hour balloon flight with the champagne breakfast becomes a deluxe overnight ballooning experience. Okay, and now we've got partnerships with other businesses that can, or not only we can feature them on our networks, on our website, but they can feature us on theirs. So that's another way to consider expanding what you do without outlay or without building any assets. And the way I always look at that is a simple formula of what do I do and what do I do really, really well, what do I not do and have no interest in ever doing, and what can I do when I find the right person that I can complement them and they can complement me. Okay, so have a think about that by way of how you can build on your own experiences. So pathway to purchase. It's not a straightforward transaction anymore, is it? It's from between you as the operator and the business and getting to your consumer. There are many different avenues to get to you. Now this is before this, you know, the top Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and all the rest of it didn't really, you know, that wasn't there 5 years ago, maybe not even 3 years ago we weren't thinking like this. But certainly that is a very powerful medium we now need to put on the map as by way of acquisition for our visitors. And then there's the big conglomerates, as we mentioned earlier, and TripAdvisor, hot off the press last week. I read that they acquired Viator. So Viator, for anyone that's not familiar, they're like the booking.com for ground experiences. So Viator don't do accommodation and they don't do airfare, they just do experiences, and that's someone that worked very well for the likes of a hot air balloon business. TripAdvisor bought Viator, and that's who they use as in their online channel manager, you could say, for their experiences. But now they are building their own. For whatever reason, they're saying to us that now we're going to have an in-house, our own built system. Okay, so online travel bookings, some stats for travel in particular. We've got it's the number of travel bookings made on the internet, percentage of all travel reservations, so it's gone more than 50% at 57%, and percent of same-day hotel reservations made via a smartphone device. And that's the other consumer behaviour we really have to be mindful of, that a lot of our purchasing is not even happening on a desktop computer anymore. It's spontaneous and it's convenient, and a lot of it is happening on mobile device. So things like having a responsive website and having a mobile friendly website are very, very important. And if you are not sure, you can go to Google and just do Google mobile friendly test, and it'll spit out a report. Could be something for your clients too. It will do an analysis on your website and it will come back to say whether you're mobile friendly or not. I mentioned this also because if your website is not responsive, what will happen is Google penalizes those websites that are not, because they are always thinking about their user experiences. Because if someone is going to Google to search, they want to serve up the most relevant, the most timely and user-friendly websites right up the top. And if they're finding there's websites that are not mobile friendly, they will penalise them through not ranking them as above, despite of the content, websites that are. Further to this, we have, what about activities? 85% of leisure visitors decide after arrival what they will do. So 85% of this study done by Tourism Australia are actually in destination going, what will we see and do? So something maybe like your experience, they might not book that when they've booked their accommodation, and they'll book that while they're here. Tours and activities coming of age. So what this study from Focusrite found, travel activities and in the aggregate, so pretty much the bulk of tourism and visitor experiences are made up by small business, right? We kind of know that or are aware that those eclectic experiences that happen in our destinations are what kind of are significant to our economy. But certainly as spend on tours activities is the third largest travel segment and accounts for 10% of global travel revenue. So next to air, accommodation, we have the experiences. So from revenue, from reservation to redemption, business is still mostly manual and more than 80% of gross bookings are made offline. So through this study, they found that we've still got a way to go to make this path to purchase seamless and keeping and up to 2018. Majority of our travel activities and our tour operators are still very much a manual process. When we're looking at desktop versus mobile, online tours and attractions gross bookings expected to increase from 9 billion in 2015 to 21 billion. Most of those online options will be mobile optimized. It's just the pendulum has already swung there, hasn't it, with our mobile. I mean, does anyone find that? You might forget your keys, but God, you know, where's my mobile? Like, it's something that we wake up with it, we go, yeah, it's become very much part of our DNA. More people are staying on mobile to book instead of a device switching, so they found this behaviour rather than kind of being on mobile to search first and then going elsewhere to make the transaction. We're getting a lot more comfortable at making those transactions on our devices. So after searching on mobiles, 79% of mobile travellers last year fully completed a booking. So significantly higher than the year before. Think with Google is a great resource. So I've added those resources there. Think with Google do yearly studies on all of this online digital behaviour, and I just always get some gold from there. So, and it's good for us too, isn't it? For us to just keep on top of things. 49% of direct online bookings are now on mobile compared to 31 in 2016, and it's showing that women are mostly doing the research and the booking. So that's a good piece of stats to keep in mind there too. So 59% of travellers been researching their next trip between 1 and 3 months before departure. So remember, when we're talking about these touch points, whether it is by way of our social media efforts or our email newsletter efforts, we have to think it's not all just happening right now, this minute. We're planting seeds for our future, doing something every day to capture everyone that's in that dreamlike state of what will I do, where will I go, who will I visit. We always have to keep in mind those people that don't know what they want to do yet. They don't know where they want to stay yet, and what are we doing in our systems to be able to attract those and keep them on our path to purchase when it comes to our online activity. 38% of tour and activity bookings are happening on the same day or up to 2 days before. Different. So different for the experiences. One thing in choosing our destination and where we will stay, but for those of us that are on the experience side, we more want to capture them here. So collaborating with local operators is a very good thing to do in that way. So certainly for us, we we ended up delivering a system to go and see our hotel concierges in Melbourne. We would make it go out and see our Yarra Valley bed and breakfast and accommodation, always keeping touch points and keeping those relationships alive. So networking in that way and keeping these stats in mind is very good for your online, any booking on or offline. Many of bookings taking place in destinations while consumers are already travelling. Only 90% of activities were booked more than a month in advance. And the power of reviews is something that I've added to this training. It's something when we're talking online booking systems and capturing and converting our online bookings. No matter what business you're in or what industry, it used to be very much just for our industry, the TripAdvisors of the world, and receiving online, receiving reviews. Now it's really relevant for anyone, isn't it? Like, it matters. And we think even when we're booking or purchasing or parting with money, what is said by other people does leave an impression on us in making those decisions. So we need to manage this now, just like we manage everything else in our business. How are we managing our online reviews, and a step further from that, our online reputation? 9 out of 10 travellers think that reading online, in online reviews is important when booking accommodation. In the last little while, or the last booking that you made, the last holiday that you went to, who did not take the online reviews into consideration? No one. We do it ourselves. We wouldn't book somewhere unless we've seen what are people saying about it. And it makes a difference, doesn't it? It can make a difference between staying there or not. So we have to be really mindful of that, and always stepping into our customers' shoes of how do they see us. The best way I've had that explain the difference between branding and marketing. So marketing is absolutely everything you do, everything from the way you answer the phone to the way you answer the door and greeted by the handsome dog. Everything is marketing. Branding is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. Branding and your online reputation is what your customers and how you are perceived by others, and that's something we now want to be mindful of. And when I said earlier, Googling yourself as a customer, going in and Google what images are coming up, what content is coming up. Do you like what is featuring on the first page of Google for your business name or for your own name in that matter? And if maybe something signature that you're doing doesn't feature there, we have to work back from that then and say, well, what content or what do we have to create to put us on the map for that keyword or that experience that we're not featuring in. 95% of travellers trust reviews on third-party site when it comes to tours and activities. Absolutely. And some more stats there which I've included in your workbook, just to really put that on the map for you. And that can be anything from systemizing that approach.
Can I just ask a question? If somebody posts a negative review,
yes,
what's the best way to respond?
A best way to respond is always thanking them. I always say, thanking them for taking the time to share that with you. So whether it's a positive or a negative, I say as a system, ask for online review, follow up for an online or any review. So have it as a system. So at what touch point can we ask for it when the transaction is made? A follow up after the experience, and reply to everything, because it shows care factor. Even if it is a negative review. Now, I shared something about this on my socials yesterday, and the feedback from an accommodation provider said, yes, it's actually quite hard. Some people are just nasty and feels like they're just doing this as, just as to pass their time. But then consequently said, the more I focused on this though, the more I've made a difference in building. The more I focused on these customer reviews, the more I've kind of shifted to a more positive. So unfortunately, there is a little bit of that, but fortunately, it's not as much as, there's also research that TripAdvisor has done to say, on average, most of the reviews are 4 to 5. People are actually going to share when they've had an amazing time, and the minority is going in there to just, I feel sometimes these people are going to just find, the negatives. But certainly, just to answer your question directly, is always reply. Because that, again, as someone that is looking, will say, well, they actually, it still makes a difference to say, well, okay, out of all these reviews, this one, but look at how they've handled it. So it's certainly a good way, and it's also it's good for our business. If we have feedback like that, we've got something to work with and something to improve, and they're actually doing us of service. I think something that we may have we've missed or we've dropped the ball in and need to put it back on the radar. So enables your business to definitely distribute through trade and industry partners. So talked about benefits. Your own website is an important place for customers to book online. So like I said, even if you don't have the functionality yet, use third parties and put that. You can easily create buttons or hyperlinks or something to bring it to life. I had someone that came on the webinar we did recently, and she sent me her website. What do you think? And I said, well, I'm actually your potential customer. I have no idea where I need to go. Like, we have to really we can't assume people know where you are in Geelong or where Bellarine is. So you have to really go back or have some random people. And I think it worked. It was a good exercise to say, what do you think? I said, well, one, your experience sounds interesting, but I have no idea where I would meet you. There's nowhere where I can click through to get more information. I feel like I have to hunt for the contact button or booking button. So sometimes it takes, it's good to audit ourselves too in that customer journey. What journey is your customer going on, and how many touch points do they have to make to get through to the booking or the inquiry or the contact page of your site? You don't want any more than 3 steps or pages or clicks. The less the better. So even having the book now button, feature it so it doesn't go away anytime will be better practice. Or your phone. How frustrating is it when you have to find a phone number on a website? Think of that for ourselves too. If someone's looking for my number to contact me, is it easy? Okay, so who are the main players? Let's look at the aim of marketing is to understand the customer so well the product or service fits them and sells itself. And that's ultimately what we want to be achieving. We know our customer so well that we could they know it was just made for them. So let's look at the roles of the key players in the distribution network, how you can work with different types of distributors, and the different 2 types between accommodation and then tours and events. So 2 ways a consumer can book your product directly. Okay, this is direct through your own efforts, advertising, website, publicity, networking, social media, word of mouth, everything that can happen that you've earned in a direct manner. And I always knew that at Global we were doing good direct business because our main keyword that was entered in our search was always at the top was our name. So even using a medium like radio at the time to advertise, we knew that it was working effectively because people were entering our name as opposed to just hot air balloon flights Melbourne. Google Analytics is great for that information too. If you haven't looked at your Google Analytics in your life for a while. Indirectly through third party agent using the travel distribution travel. So you're looking at retail travel agents, online travel agents, wholesalers, inbound tour operators. Does anyone work in the international space through international tour operators? You guys definitely do. Yeah, so I've touched on a little bit of that here today, just so you're aware of the whole ecosystem of how it works. Okay, so working with an online travel agent, they specialise in online distribution. They have the ability to book an entire holiday package, so you can go on the likes of Expedia, feature your business, and as the consumer, they've booked the whole kit and caboodle as one there. Less structured than traditional system and deal directly with consumer and the product. Okay, so when they come to an online distribution network, so it's dealing directly with the consumer. Here we have the leading accommodation online travel agents that work in this distribution. So those of you that do already have these bigger online booking system. So do you work, so now with your own, are you still tapping into this network? So that is the difference, isn't it? Between who you used and now flying with your own solution.
When you said online travel agent, you were talking about actual travel agencies, but I do work with Expedia, so that is the online.
That is definitely, so you do work with online travel agents. So other, traditional travel agents like Flight Centre and Hello World, it's now called, they're your traditional travel, they're just retail travel agents. Retail travel agents. We're talking about OTAs, which you mentioned before. Now, what is circled in the orange box is now what's owned by Expedia. So Expedia has gone in and bought all of these other brands. Now this is powerful. It's also really, I mean, they just trump. If you go and, when it comes to your Google advertising and your Google ranking, they are just so large in volume and in their marketing spend that you would find, even in Geelong accommodation, there'll be no doubt they would feature first. So you're always kind of, in a way, you're competing with your own travel agents, online travel agents as well. And then the independent players, and we need to make note of Airbnb too, who have come on the scene, and a lot of operators are now listing their products on Airbnb. Yes, please.
A lot of damage done by Airbnb. So if you go on Google, you can see the number of people who actually have extensive damage done. I find it probably a better class of person that respects your home more through Booking.com and Expedia. That's just because I don't get a lot from Airbnb because my prices are a bit higher than they're always saying, oh, no one's looking at your area, you've got $300 and it's saying $70 a night. You get breakfast and everything like that. That's not worth it. So I'm just wondering whether you have heard that, because a lot of people,
So saying damage, physical damage to property, or right.
And then they're not following up on the claims and things. Some of them like $3,000 of damage.
Right.
Damaging boxes and everything that are treated personally. But I just wondered if you've heard whether they're upping the game on that, or.
Well, look, I think it's just a separate product altogether, and I think this comes down to knowing your audience and knowing your market. So if that's something you're at a premium product and a luxury product, and that's not something like it would be, it wouldn't be the median for you. So I don't think, and you have to be always mindful that who we're choosing to feature on is where our customers are going to be and the people we want to attract into our business. And I think that's a really valid point to raise, that we don't have to be everything to everyone and feature everywhere. We being selective and being niche in our markets is actually really good business.
And we got a very high award from Booking.com for our first year, which was 2016, 9.4 out of 10.
Fantastic.
Average for the year. So I know I'm getting a lot of 10s, as well. So really go out of the way of welcoming in that. But I think people will pay a bit extra to do that.
Yes.
Commented on, that they've seen excellent reviews.
Yes, absolutely. And they matter too, don't they? That score and those reviews on Booking.com, I mean, how they do it. Even if they use the technology, if you notice we're booking it, there's one left, there's two left, someone's just booked this, and then it puts this anxiety in you, like, oh my God, I've got to book it now, and you've just got to shut down, I'm not ready. But you feel like it's like a ticking little time bomb that's going on. But that's all strategic, and it's all playing on our emotion.
I got a direct booking on Sunday morning, and this guy said he went to try and go online, and they said there were 18 people looking at our property at that one time.
Yeah, see, there you go. There you go. So there's. So that's, I mean, the customers are not stupid either, are they?
No.
That happens a lot as well. Yes.
Can I ask a question? Just
please.
More for experiences. So with Expedia, in your experience, would you find that they would look at Expedia and find the product and then more than likely go to their website just to get more information? Is that what you find?
Well, I must say sometimes they do, and I find I've seen a lot of businesses, I haven't done a screenshot for the training, but I should have. A lot of experiences are putting, go to a page and say book direct and receive a 5% discount. Now, and actually putting on something on their website to say book direct with us, so to capture those people that are just searching around. So it's very transparent. You can go, and I think the benefits of Expedia, and I know for myself as a consumer, I've booked holidays on Expedia, is just that it's done in one transaction. That if I book it through the platform, not that I've done, I mean, for experiences, I think the stats show, and I know just general behaviour, it's not something, unless it's a very attractive package to come on there and say, and it includes the Q train. But certainly it wasn't, but from my own experience, it wasn't as an experience our top selling agent. For that reason, I would say it would be for car, air, accommodation, but for us, it wasn't. It didn't even come into our top 10. Although we were always contracted with them and did feature on the platform. So if anything, I always took it like that. It's like an advertising cost. Like I would still go and feature on sites like that just to be able to get our brand out there. And then you're parting with the commission only if you've received the sale. So it's not it's not an outlay. Although with physical, I'll get to your question, with physical, with traditional agents, we worked a lot internationally. You would have to pay $700 up to $1,500 to feature in a brochure, and then part with 30% commission. And then you have to kind of weigh up, which I'm sure now, there's probably even listing fees or priority listings online as well. So there's an answer to that. Yes.
What I like about partnering with some of those, like a TripAdvisor, for example,
Yes.
is that we can control the image on there.
Yes.
So we can say, rather than that no more than 3 steps, we can say that to book tickets, if they go to our website, we've got control of it. We can send them directly to the booking page as opposed to directly to the home page with the information.
Yes.
So, and we can control that image, so we can say, we've got this special happening, we've got this happening. So we don't do bookings to TripAdvisor, but through our online booking system, it's owned by TripAdvisor, so we can partner with them to do that. And I just like that control of our image.
Love that. And I love what you've shared with that too, even just physical images. Like when's the last, so on TripAdvisor, your customers can go and upload their own images of your experience, and sometimes they're not the best images that you want to feature on there. So always going back and doing a bit of stock tape on your TripAdvisor listings. And sometimes you're not pinged if you haven't set up the notification that someone shared a photo on your listing, you might not be aware of it. So just always kind of, maintaining and taking control of how you're perceived on there. Is it Viator that you use? Dimmy. So for outbound and inbound travel by the Australian market, so Expedia 28% of market share, Booking.com 25.3%. So Expedia has really taken over Booking.com just because of all the acquisitions they've made. Expedia and Booking.com control more than 80% of the online travel business. Huge. And here we are where we're looking at leading tour and activity operators. Now the one that I've had most experience with is Red Balloon and Viator. Red Balloon, and this is, I want to plant the seeds that gift experiences. So there's online booking systems, but also facilitating transactions for people that want to give your experience as, to celebrate a special occasion. That was a big part of our business, that, don't buy stuff, buy experiences. And the clever lady, she's on the Shark Tank, Naomi Simpson, was the founder of Red Balloon Day, and now it's a massive business. But certainly, are you featured on domestic, local, online travel agent platforms like that, or featuring and promoting your own experience as a gift idea to come through. And packaging is also another way to make that more attractive. Like it might not be just a ferry ride, might not be a gift experience on itself, but maybe a combination with another product or experience, then it would make an attractive Mother's Day. Okay, so are we thinking about all these special occasions coming up and featuring them not just as a book to do now, but a buy to do later. Okay, so as a buy to redeem in 12 months' time, for example, and having that. I feel I went back to people. So a distribution strategy, a plan that identifies the best channels and distributors on which to list your business. So this is where we're told you want this plan to be going back to that, to your target market. And the strategy looks like this: your direct channels, your partnerships, and then you look at your distributors and your online travel agents. So channel manager is what I want to talk to. Is anyone familiar with the term channel manager? Excellent. So those of you that have got the online booking systems are definitely familiar with that. So this is basically when your experiences, when you are in the ecosystems with an online booking capability, you have access then to be able to go live, and for all the others that we showed you before, all the other online travel agents, to be able to pick up your experience and feature that on too. So for example, I'll show you examples actually, if we go through. So this is what a channel manager diagram can look like. So there's your hotel in this example. Now here you have 18 rooms available. Now through a channel manager, there are also 18 rooms available, but being listed on a channel manager platform means that you can also list with Booking.com, GTA, Ctrip, and Chinese market, OTA, Agoda, Expedia, Booking. So if I've gone on as a consumer and made a booking on Booking.com, everywhere goes down to 17. Everything is talking to each other. Not just, it doesn't have to be something I then have to receive the booking and then go manually change my inventory. Does that make sense to everyone? This is the clearest example I could find. So saves you time, helps manage inventory, keeps distribution simple, prevents overbooking. This is such a game changer. Did you hear that? So it's a game changer because back in the day it used to have to be separate contracts with every separate different travel agent or wholesaler. Okay, you would have to have a separate relationship, but you still would have to guarantee that you would be available for them, because they would want their customers to, or their people behind the desk, to book your experience and guarantee that you'll have a space and be confirmed. Whereas now it can all be very self-managed. So here I've put some examples of the type of sites if you're looking or considering. So we've got SiteMinder. Who did you guys use before?
We used
Ticketed. So we've got SiteMinder, we've got RMS, we've got Res Online, we've got V3 Front Desk. So all of these do what that diagram had shown. Resdi, a local channel manager. TrekSoft, this is a fantastic. Resdi and TrekSoft are more for the experiences. They specialise in experiences. So there's some, all of them do free trials, do demos, and go and have a little checkout for them, check them out. So I'll share these with Lakshmi as well. So there's only some highlights in your workbooks, but I'll share if anyone's interested in the slides. She's got them and can share with the follow-up. Tips on how to choose the best channel manager for you. So there's some questions, as I mentioned earlier, for you to ask if you're shopping around or if you're looking for solutions, to be able to say, well, can you manage your own rates? Can you upload? What's the support like? How far can you manage your inventory? Like how far in advance? Do I need to put my inventory in for only 3 months at a time, 6 months at a time? And so forth. So this is just as a gauge for you of what to look for in questions to ask when you're looking at exploring a channel manager like that. We've got half an hour to go. Are we comfortable? Do we need to go to the bathroom or do anything? So we're nearly done. So we've covered online travel agent brands. They're growing, becoming more powerful, developing a balanced portfolio of distribution channels, and understanding your customers and the niche appeal you have to specific markets. What's my niche appeal? I remember going to the Australian Tourism Exchange Eastern market, so it was very much, we're trying to tap into the Chinese markets because we were working mainly with Western, UK, US, New Zealand, and trying to crack through to the Chinese. And we were kept on losing that business to the hot air balloon operators up north because they were cheaper, they were half an hour flights. So that Chinese market was saying to us, no, too expensive, half an hour, you give it to us cheaper. And then I discovered, I went back and I said, well, we'll never do that again. They're not our people. It was a good experience to know that's not our market. Fast forward to 2018, it is now 90% of the business. So the market has changed. Okay, so we can't sit on our laurels either and think just because that happened 5 years ago that is not the consumers changing. So now with the big influx, China market is not just emerging, it has emerged, and they have just exceeded more visitors than New Zealand for the first time to Australia. Suddenly now it's changed the whole business. So every time I stay very close in touch with the guys, it just blows my mind that now Chinese New Year's become like their Christmas. It's so busy and they're flying 90 passengers. So it's also something to always consider about our markets and being able to be fluid and flexible to change as well. So let's talk a little bit distribution and partners in our final stretch. Are we good? Any questions, comments, ahas? Good. You're good? Yep. Okay, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. So this is where we're going to talk about the different types, pricing for profits, and my favourite thing to talk about is creating smart collaborations through partnerships. So there's that diagram again, and even for you to be able to just as a strategy, say, okay, what am I doing direct? What am I doing to attract direct business? What am I doing to attract, to create more partnerships in my business? And what does my distribution look like? So when we're talking about direct online booking and customer acquisition that's coming direct from your website. So the benefits of direct bookings, it's simple, no commission, which is a great benefit. You own the entire customer journey. That path to purchase is something that you have control over. Control over the experience, have the relationships from the start and for the future visits and referrals. Because the other way, the relationship is managed elsewhere, isn't it? You're kind of getting it at the confirmation stage, but then this is an opportunity where you are in control of the entire purchase. The costs of direct booking. So investment is in your online presence. Okay, so it might need some tweaking or investment in your website, in your features, in your social activity. You've invested in your SEO to be able to drive direct bookings, your online marketing, and pay to grow your audience. So it's the likes of Facebook, for example. We can only get so far unless we're doing super awesome in our content that we can continue to grow and reach our customers organically. We really need to set a budget aside these days to continue to grow that audience. Then when we're looking at partners, creating smart collaborations through partnerships include joint and mutually beneficial ventures between not just each other, regional organisations, industry bodies, and then within each other with other operators. So the benefits of partner bookings extend reach to the same market. So I have my people that follow me. you have your people that follow you. So it's a mutual exchange to get new eyeballs and new customer relationships, because if they like you, I compliment you, their chance are that they will resonate with your product. More bang for your buck, so you definitely can leverage those. It's a cost-effective opportunity. No or low commission. Now, I did this in two different ways. If I partnered with someone, it would either be part of a package. My product costs 100, yours costs 100. We will sell it for 200, okay, and we will make no commissions on that. Or we would make an agreement to say, I'll knock off 10%, and you knocked off 10%. So instead of 200, we'll sell it for 180. Okay, so we will now give a benefit of it. We'll now create, rather than a package, we're going to create a deal together to make it more attractive. But if we're not doing a package together, I might say, well, I'll feature your product on my website if you could offer some type of a special discount if they mention my name. So we had a whole other partner, friends of global ballooning, or whatever you want to call it, friends of X, or discounts, or regional, whatever, and then could say mention our name and receive some discounts and value adds at these properties or these restaurants. Okay, there's nothing to stop us from being a little bit creative and working in different ways. But there's also, some people do commissions, but I don't think that's really necessary. Improves length of stay and visitor spend for destinations. So I know we made a significant impact on the local regional Yarra Valley economy when we started really making an effort to have overnight packages and push that. So there's an opportunity for all of us to think, okay, how can we now start to think as we, not just me, to be able to keep them staying here longer and spending more and so forth. Cost of partnering, booking, same as direct. Effort is in nurturing and maintaining relationships, very, very important. Okay, so those touch points. Establishing and maintain clarity in terms of the relationship, that is very important too when we're going into these agreements. I have an online booking system, you don't. We can partner together, but what does that mean? But I will have to do a little bit more work by way of the accounting and processing. They're good conversations to have in the beginning, because then it's, and this is personal experience as well. I didn't think of that until suddenly we're the ones, I'm paying a bookkeeper and I'm paying for her time, and then issues will come or have to be refunded. Then suddenly it doesn't become fun anymore. So there could be an exchange where, okay, I don't have a booking system, you do, but I'd be happy for you to keep an extra 10% for any booking that comes through. Does that make sense, guys? So then you're creating, you're building the relationship, but being very clear about is it fair and what's fair. And my idea of fairness could be different to yours. Because I had another, we collaborated, and there was an opportunity to do an advertising together, but because our experience was more expensive, this other operator thought that the cost shouldn't be 50-50 to advertise, we should pay more. So these things come up, and it's better to have the conversations early. Without a commercial contract, risks increase. So it's not a bad idea to just put things in writing, basically, when we're going into these things together. So to give you an example of this, I went and looked at visit Geelong and the Bellarine, a whole heap of list of things to do, accommodation and so forth. So go onto hotel and motels, boom, click in there. Every listing that I saw in accommodation had check availability. Well, not everyone had check. Well, they had check availability, but not all of them went through for me to check availability in real time. If I wanted to book. So looking at this first one, Devlin Apartments, clicked onto check availability. It took me straight onto their booking page. Beautiful. So that from landing on the Geelong Bellarine website, who attract, thousands of visitors a month, a lot more than what my property would, is a good strategy to be featured in. This is also an example of when we're talking about partnerships of, you know, when it came to, remember, we only would have our flights, but then we had flight packages, accommodation packages, experience packages. Suddenly now, the offering becomes a lot more than just the primary experience that we offered. But even better, if we look at, here's an example of a wine tour with a balloon flight, is on our website, but then hello, here is the same tour featured on their website. So when we're partnering in this way, make sure we're having those conversations, that I will feature you in a dedicated page on our site, you know, and the expectation will be that you will do the same. Then take it a step further. I will feature our package and your business on our socials once a week. Will you do the same for us? Because now it's not just, we're creating opportunities, that it's not just us always spruiking ourselves, we're strategically creating opportunities for others and building a marketing team outside of our own headquarters. That makes sense? Is that good for business? Yeah, is it good for our destination? And then we've got distribution. Okay, distribution, a travel distribution system which we've explained, giving products further reach in new markets and potentially to audiences and consumers that wouldn't necessarily find us direct straight off the bat. So just to touch on what the traditional distribution channels look like. So when, as a supplier, these were where we would go when you're looking at all the different, so at a local level, we would just be at the retailer stage, okay? But from the consumer going into the travel agent, then there's wholesalers, the inbound tour operators, and the supplier when we're heading into more international markets. This is what it's looking like today, because there's a lot of conglomerates, the online travel market has come on board, and that is now, it's become a global distribution system. Now for a lot of you this won't be, it's not as relevant when we're not into that market, but it's certainly good for you to think about, should you want to head there in the future, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, setting up your systems in the right way now and taking that journey as we did as a small tiny little business with one balloon flying over Yarra Valley, and then growing along the journey to 16 balloons and then 20 balloons, and 25 years later becoming quite a leader in the international space. We all start somewhere, but always thinking what the end game is will help you now in the way that you set up your systems. And I shared that today. It's like what we're talking about is kind of a lot bigger. It's setting up not just systems but legacies. And you've just purchased you've bought a new business, you've bought it. So what will happen, so whatever now, it's a great opportunity for you now, because say down the track, if you want to sell the business, what are the systems that really suck at the moment, and then you have to find out for yourself that will make it even more valuable for the next person that will come along. And just in our roles, we're successful when the next person can come, and it's not all up here, that we've set up systems that you can move on and everything can operate seamlessly, right? So that's what we, if we want to head down that path, we, it'll be good just to keep that on the back of your mind. So the role of the booking agents will find you by themselves online or through your promotional so a lot of them will find you on their own, but it's important to know about the role of the different booking agents. And a part of that is commission rates. We touched on commission rates early, and it's important to know that of the different structures and who wants what. So when it comes to retailers and working within a retail environment, so if you've got a local flight centre in Geelong and you can't it's not something you can just walk in there and say, can you sell my product, or not Geelong, or go into the city and say, if anyone that wants to come and stay, or Sydney, interstate. It is something that you really have to, there's a whole other it's a whole other ball game to be able to do that. If we want to feature in a domestic retail agent's brochure or system, it's still done in a very traditional way, and it's not as, and I guess that's another benefit of online booking environment, that it's quite instant, that can happen very quickly. And then we've got wholesalers, so these are huge aggregates, they're all around the world, and they are the middleman basically that can come from a retail travel agent to there's a middleman in the wholesaler, retail travel agent, your consumer is over here. So this is when we're talking about, say, the holidays component. So Qantas Holidays, that's the wholesale division, because that's the team of people that are putting all the packages together. And then the retail travel agent that you were, they'll have the Qantas Holidays brochure behind them, because that is the wholesaler that they're using to make that, make sense? And then we have a whole lot of inbound tour operators that are mainly, they are the inbound tour operators are based here in Australia, and they are packaging eclectic experiences and products locally to be able to then, and the overseas wholesaler only deals direct with them. Okay, so then it's, you know, the retail travel agent will go through to their wholesaler, but the inbound tour operators are here. In case if that's something, if that's a terminology you may or may not have heard before, that would be the journey down the track in your in a travel distribution network. And then pricing for profit. Selling a product through the travel distribution system means that there's definitely factoring commissions and the travel trade calendar into your prices. So travel trade, does anyone know what the calendar is for the travel trade? Correct, correct. So it's from 1 April through to the 31st of March. So that is the travel calendar. So if this is a space that we ever wanted to play in, we always need to be thinking 18 months ahead with our rates, and always need to be thinking of our rates being active from 1st of April to the 31st of March. It is so confusing and annoying, but whatever it is that we would put in our contracts is what we would have to honour minimum 18 months down the track. So you'd have to be committed to, in the next 2 years, this is where we're going to stay. And if we're looking at increasing our rates, you still will have to be thinking, okay, we'll do that in 18 months' time to coincide with the travel calendar here. And here I've got some the different forms of commissions. So each level receives a different rate of commission. We've got gross rates equals the net rate plus the agent rate, and the net rate is pretty much your total cost less your agent commission. So you'll hear a lot of that, or if anyone's heard of the term rack rate, what's your rack rate? It's pretty much what's your off-the-shelf rate, what's your gross rate. So that's pretty self-explanatory. We know what our gross rates are. Our net rates is less the commission. And then here's another example of how that would filter through. So if the consumer pays 100, the wholesaler will be the one that would be invoicing you for $80. So that would be the top, and then they distribute it through to their retail travel agent. And here's a diagram here of where we can start with. We can part from as little as 10% commission to have a third-party seller resell your product, all the way up to 30% that we must factor into and take into account. So somewhere like Red Balloon Days, they had started at 10%, and now I'm sure as new businesses come, they're even going up to about 25% commission. So the more power they have in more buying power and exposure than the mall. But I always think of it, it's not, yes, you're parting with commission, but you always, yes, have to take your fixed and variable costs and need to make money and feed families. But certainly, if there's no layout to feature, outlay to say, I'll feature you for $1,000 a year or whatever, if your product can be sitting there and listed and you only have to pay for that when a booking is made, it's not a bad relationship or agreement, okay? And at least, like you said, this very savvy customer would go and find, could potentially go and find you anyway and book you direct. So the things to note, too many rate and periods and seasons can be very confusing. If you've got, an autumn rate and then a winter rate and then a midweek rate, and like keeping things simple is always easiest. Keep us in when offering special rates or packages, still include all levels of the distribution system. And what that means is that if you've created a package and then you want to resell that and put it on Expedia or sell it through elsewhere, you have to take into account then on that package you would have to leave, someone has to facilitate the transaction of paying the commission. So always be aware of that when you want to take a package into market. And we talked about the travel calendar. And yes, be clear on rates per person, per couple, per room, per ride, etc. Booking terms and conditions, very important, whether it's with a travel agent or with your partners, having your own booking, because what if someone cancels? We had a weather dependent business, but if you've got an accommodation and my guest is staying with you, but the flight is cancelled in the morning, what happens? Do they? Yeah. No, I'm not physically asking. It's just an example. An example that these things have to be. We have to make.
Travel insurance. We recommend that travel insurance.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But so certainly something that we will always say, like, regardless of what happens, like, you're committed to your accommodation. It's not fair. They can't be penalised for weather dependency. And if you want to, then when you reschedule, it will be up to you to rebook and pay again, which was great for accommodation because sometimes they had repeat bookings because the weather didn't turn out well. So this is an example that I will share with you here too. If you haven't got a very finite booking terms and conditions, just some things to consider or to review with your own that you might want to go and look at all your terms. And terms of payment and cancellations is a very good one, is very, very important. So this was such a work in progress document that always had featured on our website as well as on our confirmation collateral. Okay, so that's a wrap, which is fantastic. So just some things we've covered was what it means to work with a global distribution network, the difference between working direct through partnerships and through distributors locally and overseas, and always considering commissions, whether you are booking your own direct product or whether you are partnering and booking product as well. So any questions, comments? That felt like 5 minutes. I don't know if you, that went pretty quick. And this is, it's a massive topic, but I hope that sparked some ahas and added value. Was there any key takeaways, anything you wanted to share for you guys? Just on a parting note, is not to, with social media in particular, not to be wary of your, because I went and had a look around at different people's socials. A lot of you haven't activated your call to action button on your Facebook pages. Like, that's something to look out for, like your booking button. Use that feature to your advantage. Some of you that, even some that were listed on the Geelong Bellarine website, when you go into your Facebook page, even though they had booking systems, their call to action page was just send a message. So where someone has to go and physically send a message. So if you've already got that asset, send it straight through to your booking page, because that's, again, it just get them closer as much as you can to where they can make that transaction and book with you. Did you have evaluation forms?
No, I'll send out an email with it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, is there anything else anyone wants to share? We're good? Okay, in that we've got like 4 minutes. Can we take a group photo? I always run out of time for would that be okay with everyone to take a little group photo together? Awesome. Okay, well thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. No worries, thank you.